Hello, I am Francisco Serrano, your guide in this journey at CES. Come and join me to find out what brands are doing with the speed of now.
My professional background has always been in user engagement. A lot of people talk about chief marketing this and chief marketing that, but I think that what the thorough line is that I'm always really interested in how we engage the end user, whether it's a customer or client, about how a product or services is benefiting them. No one really cares about how it works, they just want to know how it benefits. And so I like to think that I've been a chief engagement officer or head of a business unit that really looks at how do we take a product or service to market.
Perfect.
And then, answer to your sister, why CES? We had this great opportunity to collaborate with AARP, which is kind of an incredibly storied and trusted organization in the United States. It serves about 65 million people who are over the age of 50. And we had this opportunity to collaborate with them to create a concept house called Samsung Health House with about 10 other startup companies, entrepreneurial companies who are all looking to provide some kind of a health outcome or benefit for the agent, anybody who actually wants to age at home. And I would say that we like to say it's, they want to say it's focused on more people over 50, but during COVID, everybody was aging at home. I mean, my 20-year-old son says, "Mom, I am getting old at home." And I said, "Yes, you are. You're going to join the race." Now you know how I feel like, right? So I hope that we're here to showcase what the very near future could be, and for people to imagine what a really intelligent home could look like, where you could just stay healthy, or you could get care from your loved one to a doctor, depending on your health situation. Speed is a very interesting question for health, because typically health is not linear and it's very loopy. Like life is not linear and it's very loopy. So I think that oftentimes we think everything is like a straight line, and what we're really trying to be is very intentional and purposeful about how we bring our product to market. And I think the critical thing that we're doing here is that we know that there are a lot of products and services in the digital tech area for people who are trying to age at home or to really flourish at home. Everything is a point solution. And end of the day, a person, anybody from somebody who's already healthy to somebody who's ailing, wants simplicity and something that's unified, that's already familiar to the way they already live at home. And then the other care, whether it's a care provider, which is it could be your daughter, it could be your son, it could be your next door neighbor, it could be your aunt who's helping somebody who's ill or who needs care at home, to a doctor. They want not to talk about technology, they want to actually deliver service to you. So I think that you really need a really big technology player like a Samsung to figure out how they all unify and deliver something that actually deals with data security, data connectivity, and really insight and user friendliness in the front end and ease of use for the provider or your caregiver, because your next door neighbor or your sister doesn't want to try to figure out technology when she wants to give care for you. So I think that's what Samsung is trying to do at a technology level, and we're trying to actually open up the marketplace to have everybody come join, because sooner they come together to figure this out together, sooner we'll be able to deliver the services for those who really are in need. And I will say that people over 65, there's about 12 to 13,000 of them every day becoming 65. It's literally a quarter of the worldwide population. And they have about $8.3 trillion in spending money in healthcare, in lifestyle. And if you put that as a separate GDP, it'd be the number 3rd largest country in the world.
Wow.
So that's a lot so speed to market, yes, and then also we're also following the user and trying to solve the problem collectively together. So as you know, Samsung has been beloved consumer electronics company for a long time. So people already know about our refrigerators and our TV screens, our microwave, our smart things, our air purifier. So people are already used to that stuff in their home. And so we're now going to pivot them a little bit to really look at what are little tiny health behaviors that we could actually help you, and so that you could actually, we could create passive sensing, environmental sensing, so that you could actually, from the things you're already used to, figure out how to maybe produce a little bit healthier food in your microwave. How do we actually shop for better grocery food? Also, maybe on the refrigerator, maybe your caregiver, who's your daughter or your son-in-law or your grandchild who's helping you, could actually leave you notes to say, Grandma, don't forget to take your medication on your kitchen board, which is somebody who's already used to it, right? So we're trying to deliver something through some things that they're already used to, opposed to any new thing, because technology is really disruptive. And when you are not healthy or when you're for care for, that's really hard to do. It's very fragmented and everybody's trying to stitch that together. So ultimately, I think that if you know that a product or brand have always taken care of you, we want to take care of you so you can take care of other people around you who are your loved ones. And I think that goes for you individually, or the fact that, the caregiver, who's usually a woman in the home, who will do a lot of the caregiving. We want her to be taken care of so that she actually also could have the technology and the tools and the know-how to take care of others around them. Because at the end of the day, we have almost 50 to 60 million people who are, quote, caregivers, who are not professional. Because we're all providing care for our loved ones. And I think that human touch is really critical. So we're just trying to accelerate and augment that with technology and tools and things that you're already familiar in your home. Because ultimately, almost 70 to 80% of people say they all want to age from the comforts of their home.
Yeah.
Whether maybe you can't move to, like, Mommy, I want to work more from home. I mean, all the millennials want to work from home. Well, it needs to care for them. Actually, the users have told us that it's not instant gratification they want from things that are for health. Because health, I think we all know innately what is healthy for us. It's long-term, little tiny behavioral changes. Like my colleague just said, I know that in my family we have late diabetes that is hereditary. And my mother and my father got it when he was 65. So I already had propensity, I have all the degrees in the world and I work in health, right? But you put me a dark chocolate flourless cake, I'm gonna want a bite of that, right? So I think that what people have telling us in health is that they want little tiny nudges in behavioral modification. Yes, we could give you the data, but it's not the data itself, it's to help you to do what you could do with it. And what you could do with it, human behaviors, we don't like change. We want just a little bit of nudge, little bit. So over time, maybe today I eat the whole chocolate cake, but over time maybe I'll just have a bite and stop. Because the information's telling me, Jasmine, when you have that entire chocolate cake, your glucose goes through the roof. And on this current trend, you might end up very similar with the same case situation with, like, my father, who's 30 years older than I am. And so we're hoping that combination of that data plus the data from refrigerator, plus my running track, plus other things are giving me a little bit of data that says, Jasmine, maybe the reason you're wanting to eat that chocolate cake because you didn't actually sleep a good night, and when we don't sleep, we want carbs, right? Or did you notice that even if you have a little bit, you're satiated? So maybe instead of trying to eat that cake, you should go take a walk outside in the light, and you'll get the same endorphin. So it's those little tiny things all connected that I think is what people want, and we know clinically that's what actually changes behavior that provides long-term health outcomes, and that's what we're shooting for. So people might say, like, one of the other cases that recently we worked on a mindfulness product, and we thought, like, we would have all these sensors and tests, and we could give you a score, like, do you have a propensity for anxiety or preclinical depression? And we shared it with our users, and they're like, that's not what we want. And they said, no, what we want is Throughout the day, you see what we're doing, just remind us to take a deep breath. Remind us to take a walk. Remind us to close our eyes for 10 minutes, but we don't want to be diagnosed with numbers. So I think that we inherently know, we could give you data right away, but it's not the data. It's what you could do with the data and how can we nudge you little bit, when all of us know, but we kind of need a friend or a little sensor to just say, reminder, go outside and get a sunlight. Reminder, you've been talking a long time and like yakking and no, like you haven't had a piece of food, go get even a tiny snack. And a carrot will do instead of a chocolate cake. So I think that's what we're trying to do. More ambient, passive, connected information that is not intruding on your everyday life, but that's nudging you little by little and connecting the dots. So you could start to understand, well, maybe I feel exhausted and depressed because you haven't slept in 3 days and you haven't eaten properly.
Interesting.
Right? Because sometimes it's the most simple, basic things. And also to connect that so that if you have a friend or a caregiver, just to say, like my mother, she's like, oh, Jasmine, I'm so depressed. And I was like, Mom, you haven't walked outside in 5 days because you think it's too cold. You need to get some sunlight. And it doesn't even have to be medication. Of course, if you need medication, you need to do that too. But it's that coordinated effort with our technology, but with also giving those tools to somebody who actually cares for you to enable them to remind you, whether it's just your next door neighbor or a doctor. And I think that is what we're trying to do. So instant gratification, you'll get the numbers, but I think overall what we're trying to do is give you connected services and products and people to help you kind of make those changes over time. That's going to really be the big impact in health. Good. What I'll add is that I think it's easy for large big technology companies when people say, well, people over 50, they don't know how to use technology. And actually that's not true. It's a big number. So I would beg to differ that I'm in my 50s and I grew up on tech, to maybe other people that we know who's maybe 80 years old who are needing. But I would say some of the best technology we use today, even like your voice activated things, were originally created for people who actually who are blind. So if we look at the minute we actually put glasses on, we need assistance. So if we could be more compassionate, I always think about, we do compassionate design, where we really try to understand how do we create user interfaces really for the people who are most in need. We would actually probably appease the whole generation of people because they all want simple things to do. Nobody wants anything complicated. So we're really working to stitch together the technology so that it's unified, so that for the end user, whether you are really healthy 40-year-old to somebody who actually needs care at 70, to a doctor who really doesn't have time to try to figure out, like, Francisco, you need to get on your phone and push 3 buttons to do this, to your sister-in-law who's just wanted to remind you, Francisco, please drink 8 cups of water today because you have this condition. And I'm being a nudge, but it's because I love you. We want to actually do that. So we really focus on human-centered design on the front end with the technology, and also we want to just accelerate and augment the tools that the caregiving community and the humans that we all need do that already. So we're not, we're a technology company, but we are technology for humans. And so that's one thing. And the second thing is that we are very clear and humble that life and health is not a straight line, it's not linear. Yes, we have tons of great engineers, so we're constantly reminding them it's a loop. Even though you're like a perfectly 30-year-old engineer today, tomorrow you might be sick and you have an understanding of what somebody who has it all the time might be like. Of course, you will get better in 7 days because you're only 30. Somebody like me, I might take 21 days because I have a pre-existing condition, to somebody who's 75 who might have a chronic condition for the rest of their life, but they all want dignity, they want simplicity and health that is relevant and beneficial for them. So that's what we're focusing on. So that's what I'd like to leave you with.
In this hyper-connected world, there's one thread that ties us all together: speed.